What's up everyone, my channel already has 9 place rating videos, but if I'm being honest, some of those ratings were based on memory or just pure guessings. This time we're doing things properly. I've been revisiting every place and giving each one the score it truly deserves. We'll be judging them in 3 categories: concept, quality and visuals. As we go through each place, I'll rate all 3 and combine them into a final score. Alright, let's not waste any more time, let's get into it.
I mean, it's alright, like...
And first up, we have still a Brainrot. In my video I gave it a 4.5 out of 10. With the note, will do for kids. There honestly isn't much to say about it. It's a game about brainrots, and I absolutely hate brainrots. About a year ago, when the game was just starting to become popular, my friends and I would hoping from time to time just to troll little kids in that game. So what about the ratings? For the idea, I'm giving a 5 out of 10. It's simple, but in its own way, it's kind of genius. As for the other 2 categories, I'm giving them pretty low scores.
I mean, it's alright.
Hey, that's pretty good.
The Trails has a really cool atmosphere. It kind of reminds me of a dusty trip, except instead of a car, you've got a train. Yeah, not exactly a revolutionary change. Anyway, I've already had my fill of it. And another more thing, the werewolves are way too brutal in this game. It's like they ate an entire barge full of protein. So here are my ratings. For the idea, I'm giving it 4 out of 10. By the time this game came out, the whole zombie road trip concept had already been done to death. Although I do have to give it credit for the trade. For the quality, it gets 7 out of 10. But it feels like this game was made under a really tight deadline. And obviously, the visuals get a 3 out of 10 as well. I mean, just look at this.
Hey.
Alright, Lucky Block Battlegrounds. This game holds a special place in a lot of players' hearts and brings back a ton of nostalgia. But for 2026, it's just way too outdated. For the idea, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. It's genuinely a really cool concept and I definitely see why it became so popular. But for the other 2 categories, I'd rather not say anything. But I still have to give it a 5 out of 10 and 2 out of 10. But this game truly earned those scores.
Biggest piece of dog shit.
Next up, we have an... What the hell? Okay, hold on a second. Let's get one thing straight right now. I am not going to rate every single place that was only used in video as a joke. Anyway, let's continue.
Biggest piece of dog shit.
Bee Swarm Simulator is one of those games that has secured its place in Roblox history, and even today it's still incredibly popular. As for the idea itself, creating a world where you're basically the size of an ant, running a huge beehive, exploring different locations and helping bears with quests, while constantly upgrading your equipment is genuinely impressive. That's why the idea gets an 8 out of 10. But when it comes to quality and presentation, this game is incredible. On it, the creator of the game somehow managed to turn this concept into something that's addictive from the very first minutes. So, for quality I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. And for visuals, a 5 out of 10. I can't give it a higher score, but I also can't rate it any lower. There's just so much original content here. The developer created the textures, the mobs, the equipment, pretty much everything from scratch instead of relying on free public models, like Lucky Block Battlegrounds does. And next up is a game that a lot of you disagreed with me on the comments. Murder Mystery 2. But let's be honest here, the game came out a long time ago, back in 2014. But the core idea existed much earlier on other platforms. So, for originality, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. The concept wasn't created here, it was simply copied and adapted. As for how well that idea was executed, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The game does its job and it's clearly managed to keep players interested for years. But the visuals are where it really falls short. They get a 2 out of 10. The game just doesn't look particularly impressive, especially by modern standards. And don't tell me it's because the game is old. The developers are still releasing updates, and they just keep adding more pointless weapon skins.
It was perfect.
A dusty trip, you might be asking me why I gave this game such a high score, and my answer is I honestly don't know. Like I said before, I was rating a lot of these games almost at random, and this is one of the best examples of that. Realistically, this game probably deserves a score similar to the Rails, and the main idea was clearly inspired by the long drive. That said, I genuinely enjoy the driving in this game. There's just something satisfying about maintaining your vehicle and cruising across the map. So even though the concept isn't exactly original, I'm giving it a higher score for quality than that Rails, simply because I had more fun with it. The visuals are pretty much the same story, the vehicles looks better, a few of the props have improved, and of course, those amazing paintings. I always stuck one on my windshield before every road trip. 5 out of 10.
It was perfect.
It's alright.
Back in its prime, this game was captivating and a lot of fun. It felt amazing when you finally had enough money to buy a new ability. Everything was simple, and that simplicity was exactly what made the game so great. You'd deflect the ball, use your abilities, and that was it. But the developers of Blood Bowl seemed to think that adding more and more content would automatically make the game better. It didn't. The game's biggest strength was its minimalism. The idea itself is pretty simple, but the execution was fantastic. Even the sound of deflecting the ball was satisfying. It was one of those small details that made the gameplay feel great. The visuals are pretty solid too, so I'm giving them a 7 out of 10.
It's alright.
Next up, we have 99 Nights in the Forest. To be completely honest, I've never played this game before in my life, so this was my very first time trying it. But wow, this game absolutely blew up. Millions of views on YouTube, merchandise, a huge fan base. You've probably seen it everywhere. Personally, thought I didn't really grab my attention the moment I joined. My first thought was I'd rather close Roblox and go play the forest. But we're rating Roblox games here, so I give it a fair shot. Right away, I can say the idea is pretty good. Crazy forest dwellers, lost children in the woods, and survival mechanics all mixed together. That's actually an interesting concept. So for the idea, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. As for quality and visuals, they're definitely decent. But decent doesn't mean amazing. For quality, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Some things are genuinely well made. The deer, for example, looks pretty impressive. For visuals though, it's a 3 out of 10. Sorry, but I just don't think they stand out enough to deserve a higher score. Speed draw. So what I can say about game where your only job is to draw and judge everyone else's art. It's a pretty fun idea, even if I absolutely sucked at drawing in school. So yeah, the idea gets a 6 out of 10. As for the quality of the execution, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. The game is very well optimized, and some players create absolute masterpieces with their drawing tools. Oh, and I actually like the lobby too. When it comes to visuals, there's really nothing wrong with them. For a game that's all about drawing, they do exactly what they need to do. So I'll give the visuals a neutral 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Pet Simulator 99. And no, I'm not going to call it copy of the original Pet Simulator, because both games were made by the same studio. That being said, I still can't give the idea a particularly high score. I mean, is collecting different pets and having them click on coins really that genius of a concept? Honestly, I don't think so. For the idea, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. As for the execution, the game is actually put together quite well. The gameplay feels smooth and enjoyable, which definitely helps. For quality, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. And when it comes to visuals, I have to give credit where it's due. The locations looks great, the pets design are well made, and the overall presentation is polished. That's a 10 out of 10 for visuals. We finally reached the most popular Battlegrounds game, and probably the very first one that started the whole trend of 4 abilities and an awakening. Personally, I only started playing this game because I watched One Punch Man. And yes, that's one of only 3 anime I've watched in my entire life. So let's talk about the idea. Bringing anime characters and their abilities into Roblox is no small task. The concept itself isn't completely original, but it definitely sounds cool. For the idea, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. As for the execution, I'd say it's almost perfect. The game does an excellent job of making those abilities feel powerful and fun to use. I'd love to give it a full score, but I feel like something is still missing. Maybe it just needs more map variety or something else. So I'm going with a 9 out of 10 for quality. And the visuals effects? They're simply fantastic. That's a 10 out of 10 from me. I mean, just look at these heat effects. Next up, we have the pizza game, or more specifically, the game about the people who make the pizza, work at pizza place. For a lot of Roblox players, this game is probably pure childhood nostalgia, and honestly, I have a confession to make. I've never played it before. Quite a few of the games in this video completely passed me by. Now, about the idea. Hold on, are you serious? We just make pizza. Alright, that's all I need to know. 3 out of 10 for the idea. As for the quality and visuals, I don't really have much to say. It's not like you expect anything groundbreaking from a game where the main objective is making pizza. At the same time, it feels a little bland. So I'll just give it a 5 out of 10 for quality and 3 out of 10 for visuals. And let's move on. And now we've reached what was probably the biggest hit of 2025 and the main competitor to steal Brainrot, Grow Garden. Back when it first came out, my friends and I actually enjoyed spending time there. We'd just hang out, chat and work on our garden together. But to be honest, it got old pretty quickly, and after a while we just stopped playing altogether. So what about the ratings? For the idea, it's pretty simple. Grow fruits and vegetables, buy seeds. Honestly, that kind of boring, 2 out of 10. But the way the game presents that idea is a completely different story. The classical music soundtrack, the Lego-like art style, and satisfying sound effect all come together to create a really relaxing atmosphere. For quality, I'm giving it 9 out of 10. And as for the visuals, they are solid for a gardening game. Nothing revolutionary, but definitely good enough. That's a 6 out of 10 from me. Project Delta. This is one of those cases where I rated a game completely at random in the original short. To give you an idea of how random it was, I couldn't ever get into the game when I was making that video. Now that I'm actually looking at it, thought I feel like someone nailed the score anyway. Wait, what? I genuinely thought that it was just another piece of Roblox junk, but it turns out it's an actual hidden gem. For the idea, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It's cool, sure, but there are so many games and mods built around war and post-apocalyptic settings. The execution, on the other hand, is excellent. Everything feels polished and well thought out, so that's a 9 out of 10. For quality. And for the visuals effects, I'm not even going to hesitate. 8 out of 10. The developer clearly put a ton of effort in this game, and it shows. And when it comes to the next game, I already disagree with the score I originally gave it. Asylum is basically pure chaos. The whole idea of the game is throwing players into complete madness, with countless references, ridiculous weapons and absurd abilities. There was a time when I would spend entire days playing it without getting bored. For the idea, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's a really cool concept, and the amount of creativity behind it deserves credit. The execution is great as well. The variety of game modes and the number of interesting maps make the experience feel fresh even after hours of playing. That's another 8 out of 10 for quality. As for the visuals, I give them a 6 out of 10. The game isn't exactly trying to be visually stunning, and compared to some other Roblox titles, it's not particularly flashy. So what I can say about chess? Guys, it's chess, that's it. It's just chess. I genuinely have nothing else to add. It's not a really Roblox game that I can judge the same way as the others, because at the end of the day, you're just playing chess. Let me know how many times I said chess, and I'm leaving this one in a natural category. Alright, next up we have Jujutsu Shenanigans. This is the same kind of Battlegrounds game as the Strongest Battlegrounds. Sure, it's cool that for fans of Jujutsu Kaisen got their own game, but in terms of originality, I can only give the idea a 4 out of 10. But what about the execution? There's only one answer: destruction! Seriously, my favorite thing about this game is leveling entire buildings. Watching everything around you get wiped out never gets old. And I was genuinely surprised when the developers added the ability to create your own move sets. After that update, the players count absolutely skyrocketed. So for quality, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. And as for the visuals, they're fantastic too. Just look at that giant purple sphere. That's a 10 out of 10 for visuals. Fisch, in my opinion, the best game to relax in and do someone fishing after a long day at work. Seriously, I don't think I've seen a more relaxing game on Roblox. There are hundreds of fish to catch, tons of different rods, quests, boats, and islands to explore. There's always something to walk toward, but the game never feels stressful. As for the idea itself, I have to admit it doesn't sound that exciting. You ride around in a boat and catch fish on different islands. That's basically it. So for the idea, I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. But the way that idea is executed, 10 out of 10. Everything just comes together perfectly to create an incredibly enjoyable and relaxing experience. As for the visuals effects, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. They look great, help create the atmosphere and fit the game really well. And here we have Roblox version of Dead by Daylight, Violence District. This game can be genuinely scary at times, and it comes surprisingly close to capturing the feel of the original. It keeps you on edge almost the entire time, and you never really feel safe. As for the idea, it's basically Dead by Daylight in Roblox, just without characters and mobs. So for originality, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. But the execution, another absolute gem. The developers did an incredible job recreating that horror atmosphere and constant tension that makes game like this so engaging. That's a 10 out of 10 for quality. As for the visuals effects, though I'm not giving it a perfect score. Come on, let's be honest. That hook animation isn't exactly masterpiece. So visuals get a 7 out of 10 from me.
Biggest piece of dog shit.
And then we have Brookhaven. I'm sorry, but I can't even rate this game without wanting to cry. In my opinion, it's the most overrated game in Roblox history. For every single category, idea, quality and visuals, I'm giving it a 1.5 out of 10. Feel free to argue with me in the comments if you want. I'll reply to every single one of you. And no, this is definitely not comment bait.
Biggest piece of dog shit.
Alright, let's just ignore the fact that I have over 1000 hours in this game, because this is your bizarre adventure, and I still consider it the best PvP game on Roblox. It also happens to be based on my favorite anime of all time. And yes, don't forget that I've only watched 3 anime in my entire life. Unfortunately, the game started slowing down after the major soft and wet update. Updates began releasing once every 6 months, sometimes even once a year. Events barely changed, and the whole game felt like it got stuck at checkpoint. point and stopped moving forward. So what about the ratings? For the idea, bringing the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, especially the Golden Wind arc, into Roblox is a really cool concept. That's a 6 out of 10 from me. But when it comes to the execution of that story, they completely fumbled it. The storyline is generally awful, but the abilities, on the other hand, are absolutely fantastic. They are one of the main reasons the game became so popular in the first place. So for quality, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. As for the visual effects, they get a 9 out of 10. There are definitely games out there with the better looking effects, but your Bizarre Adventure still does a great job. And despite all its flaws, YBA will always have a place in my heart. Next up is another game based on a very well-known anime, and of course I'm talking about Blox Fuits. And I want to start with the thing that genuinely annoys me the most about this game, the grind. I wouldn't even mind grinding if it weren't so ridiculously long, but here it feels endless. After about 30 minutes I already want to leave the game. Sure, there are some really cool moments, unlocking weapons, learning fighting styles, exploring the map, but all of that gets buried under this cursed grind. As for the idea, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Seriously, the concept is awesome. Sailing across the sea, gaining new powers, hunting down bosses and becoming stronger as you explore the world, that's just cool. But the execution of that idea gets a 7 out of 10 from me. The game has a lot of great content, but the progression system drags it down way too much. And when it comes to visuals, 10 out of 10. The effects, environments, abilities and overall presentation looks fantastic. No complaints there, the game looks amazing. Bike to Hell, another heavily hyped obby, except this time you're riding bicycles. Can I just give the scores and move on? This game really isn't worth spending much time talking about. For the idea, 2 out of 10. For the execution, 5 out of 10, and for the visual effects, 4 out of 10. That's it. Next. Now, here's a game where I genuinely have to give credit to developer, Rivals. In my opinion, it's the best dueling game on Roblox. There's a huge variety of weapons, skins, grenades, maps, you name it. And on top of all that, the game looks great. So, for the idea, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Let's be honest, dueling games aren't exactly a groundbreaking concept anymore, but the execution, that's where this game shines. Everything feels polished, responsive and fun to play, so it gets a 10 out of 10 for quality. And the visuals, 8 out of 10. No further explanation needed. Let's move on to the next game. Can I just skip Escape Tsunami for Brainrots? This has to be one of the most impressive games among those with massive player counts. I'm giving it a 1 out of 10. That's all it deserves. Moving on. And here we have Murder Mystery, but with their roles reversed. Dingus. Instead of innocent players trying to find the killer has to identify real players hiding among a crowd of clones. And honestly, it can be surprisingly difficult. Figure out who's an actual player and who's just an AI copy. For the idea, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. The concept is simple, but in my opinion, it's a lot of more interesting than what Murder Mystery 2 does. As for the execution, it gets a 8 out of 10. The clean design and the developer's own spin on the formula really helped the game stand out. And for the visuals, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. There's very little to complain about. They look polished and fit the game well. That said, it's not quite a masterpiece, so it doesn't earn a perfect score. Fling Things and People is yet another example of how the game became popular just by letting players throw each other across the map. For the idea, I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. It sounds stupid, but somehow it works. For quality, it gets a 6 out of 10. Most of those points are purely for the physics system. The rest of the game leaves a lot of be desired. And for the visuals, 1 out of 10. At least there's something to look at. Flee the Facility. This is a really old Dead by Daylight style game for Roblox. I mean, it's been 9 years since it came out, and player count is still around 30,000? What? Okay, let's get to the ratings. For the idea, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. It's even lower than Violence District. The game just doesn't offer much variety when it comes to characters or abilities. As for the quality, yeah, that's another 2 out of 10. I don't think that's a very controversial take. And the visuals? Okay, maybe 4 out of 10. Okay, let's move on. Girls, now I'm talking to you. Please rate Dress to Impress in the comments. For me, this game has always been a 2 out of 10, and that hasn't changed. But maybe it gave you some great memories or emotions that you'd like to share. If that's the case, I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, let's keep going. Doors. This is the game that truly caused a revolution in Roblox horror. The number of visits it has is particularly comparable to the population of the planet. I think very highly of this game because it's genuinely well made. Wandering through a hotel filled with countless doors and terrifying monsters is an amazing concept. For the idea, it's an easy 8 out of 10. As for the execution, it's a masterpiece. The soundtrack, the atmosphere, the sounds design, everything works together perfectly. That's another 10 out of 10 for quality. And the visuals, 8 out of 10. There's really no other score I can give. And now we have a game where the players do everything except what the title tells them to do. They completely ignore the objective of building a boat for treasure, and every day their creations become more and more ridiculous. Let's all agree that the idea itself is pretty bahem, not very good. 3 out of 10. But the way it's been executed is unbelievable. People have built working versions of Doom, recreated scenes from movies, and some players have even made things that look like entire weapon system. And let me remind you, this is a game that's supposed to be about building boats. That's a 10 out of 10 for quality. As for the visuals, that's an easy 4 out of 10. That's honestly the saddest part of the game. Although, to be fair, I'm almost afraid to imagine what these master builders would create if they had truly top tier graphics to work with. And once again, we're dealing with zombies. This time, it survived the apocalypse. And honestly, I love tycoons that are more than just running around and stepping on buttons. A zombie apocalypse combined with building and upgrading your own base in Roblox. Plus, a variety of weapons, that's an easy 8 out of 10 for the idea. There's so much content you could create with a concept like that, but apparently the developer didn't want to put in that much effort. Just look at that minimap and you'll immediately understand what I mean. For the execution, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. And the visual effects get a 4 out of 10. Yeah, what a shame, because the idea had so much potential. Volleyball Legends. So we're dealing with another anime game, aren't we? Yep, looks like it. Well, that won't stop us from rating it. Volleyball with special abilities is actually a pretty cool idea. Wait, that's not straight from the anime, right? Right? Yeah, sure. I'm not about to watch an entire anime just because of one Roblox game. It's pretty obvious where the inspiration came from. So for originality, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. To be fair, the developers did add something of their own. For example, microtransactions. I don't think those were in the anime, probably. Anyway, the execution is generally good, so I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for quality, and the visuals are solid too. At the very least, those powerful spikes and ball effects are satisfying to watch. Definitely one of the better looking sports games on Roblox. 8 out of 10. Fishing simulator. Wait, no, my mistake. It's Hooked. From what I can tell, this game is basically a combination of Blade Ball and Podge from Defense of the Ancients 2. For the idea, I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. I mean, come on, this is about as so close to a copy as it gets. But the execution is impressive. An 8 out of 10 feels fair. The interface is clean. The abilities are fun to use, the skins are great, and honestly, some of them are even cooler than what Blade Ball has to offer. As for the visual effects, I'm giving them a 7 out of 10. They're good but not exactly mind-blowing. Pretty solid overall, just nothing revolutionary. And I have to admit something. While recording footage for all these games, I somehow ended up spending 3 hours playing this one. Blox Strike is probably the best Roblox Counter-Strike clone I've ever seen, but the game feels incredibly unoptimized. Honestly, if you play this right after the original Counter-Strike, you might actually lose your mind. Anyway, let's get to the ratings. For idea, it's an easy 1 out of 10. Do I really need to explain that one? For quality, I'll be honest. It's just pretty good. The maps, the weapons, the interface, pretty much everything feels great executed, and that's not especially disappointing, considering the game gets updated fairly often. So for quality, it gets a 7 out of 10. As for the visual effects, they're almost an 8 out of 10 as well, but I'll give them a single point for the grenade effects. So visuals get a 9 out of 10. And next up, we have a game called Trade Your Pet. Oh sorry, I mean Adopt Me. It's a mistake to make because that's basically what the game turns into anyway. Honestly, the idea gets a 2 out of 10 for me. It's just too boring. Taking care of pets and collecting more of them isn't exactly the most exciting concept in the world. As for the quality, Vote is actually pretty solid. For a game that's mostly about raising cute animals, isn't surprisingly well made. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 for quality. And when it comes to the visual effects, you don't really expect anything extraordinary from a game like this. 7 out of 10.
Us.
For the next game, it seems like the developer was way too lazy to come up with a title, but at least they focused on making the actual game good. Untitled Boxing game is a surprisingly great game about boxing. Yeah, shocking, I know. The idea itself is pretty basic, but the gameplay is incredibly addictive, especially when you're fighting a friend. Both you are down to your last bit of health, and you're sitting in opposite corners holding block, waiting for other person to make a mistake. Your heart rate goes through the roof. So, for the idea, I'm giving 3 out of 10. Boxing with different fighting styles? Sure, why not? But the execution is incredible. There are plenty of fighting styles, lots of gloves, different arenas, and most importantly, an excellent PvP system. That's a 7 out of 10 for quality, and the visuals are solid too. So let's give them an 8 out of 10.
Us.
Tower Defense Simulator. The moment I joined this game, my headphones were at full volume, and that guy voice instantly drove me insane. Anyway, let's get straight to the ratings. The tower defense genre is really old at this point. Enemies walking down a single path isn't exactly the most original idea in gaming story. So for the idea, I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. As for the execution, it's actually very well done, especially that guy at the bottom of the screen. But seriously, the game is generally solid, plenty of content, good progression, and a formula that still managed to stay fun. That's a 10 out of 10 for quality. And the visual effects are about as standard as they come. Nothing amazing, nothing terrible, so they get a nice neutral 7 out of 10. An hobby that managed to captivate millions of Roblox players. Yeah, why am I even surprised? These are Roblox players we're talking about. Tower of Hell has one of the simplest concepts imaginable. You just jump up road through a bunch of colorful obstacles. Wow! That's a 2 out of 10 for the idea. As for the execution, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. 2 of those points are purely because the challenges change every round. That's honestly the only thing keeping this game alive in my eyes. And the visual effects? What the visual effects? 1 out of 10. Let's move on. Backrooms in Roblox. By the way, let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie, but please no spoilers. I still haven't watched it yet. This game gets my award for the best intro sequence. Seriously, I never get tired of rewatching it. The atmosphere is incredibly oppressive, and there are definitely a few moments that can be genuinely scary. Don't worry, though you probably won't have a heart attack. Feel free to jump in. For the idea, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. At the end of the day, it's still just backrooms, but there's some strangely mesmerizing about it. Sometimes you even forget you're playing Roblox. As for the execution, it's almost perfect. 9 out of 10. Why not 10? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe it should be a 10 out of 10. And for the visuals, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. The monsters are really well designed, at least, from what little I saw of them. Most of the time, I was too busy running away to turn around and take a proper look. Evade. For the idea, I'm immediately giving it a 1 out of 10. Long before this game existed, the exact same formula had already been done everywhere, from Gary's mod maps to the most generic mobile crash grabs imaginable. As for the quality, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. To be fair, this game is still better than those mobile knockoffs. At the very least, it has more than one map. There are items to use, and the gameplay has a bit more depth. And for the visuals, sure, I could be giving it a 0, but the developer clearly put in some effort. That's a 4 out of 10. What a coincidence, because I'm giving the next game a 1 out of 10 for originality as well. I think anyone who's ever played on a Minecraft server has tried Bed Wars at least once. And this is basically the same game brought over to Roblox. That said, I have to admit the execution is genuinely good. For quality, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. The design is clean, the maps looks nice, the Minecraft inspired style works surprisingly well, and there's good variety of weapons and kits. As for the visuals, they get a 7 out of 10. I understand that the game is based on a mode from a blocky game, but the textures are just too simple at times. And don't even get me started on the weapon switching animations. It looks very nice. So while the game looks decent overall, it definitely leaves room for improvement. Jailbreak. Right from the start, I have to say that Ivy always preferred its clone or competitor. Call it whatever you want, Mad City. To me, that game was simply better. Jailbreak, on the other hand, has never impressed me with its quality. And don't even get me started on the Roblox exclusive Nitro for cars. Seriously, compare the two games. In one of them, it's free and actually works properly. Anyway, let's talk ratings. The idea is good. It immediately brings GTA to mind. A city full of criminals, cops, robbers and car chases. That's a 6 out of 10 for the idea. It's a fun concept, but not exactly unique enough to deserve a perfect score. As for the quality, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. But so many things feel clunky, from the robberies to the countless bugs. There's always something that doesn't quite work the way it should. And the visuals, that's where things get even worse. Sure, the cars looks better than the ones in Brookhaven, but honestly, they're not that far off. And then there's that awful Nitro system. Yes, this is the second time I've mentioned it, but it's genuinely that annoying. 2 out of 10. And next up, we have one of the best Tycoons ever made, if not the best. War Tycoon. You've got all kinds of weapons, land vehicles, aircraft, boats and even drones. This isn't the kind of Tycoons where you just press buttons and collect money. You actually have to fight for your progress. At any moment a nuke can come flying in and wipe out half your base. Or you can gather a few friends and get your revenge with a full-scale tank assault. Either way, I'm giving the idea a 5 out of 10. It's exciting, no doubt about it, but military damned games have been done so many times that it hurts the originality factor. As for the execution, 10 out of 10. Everything I just mentioned proves it. The game is packed with content, and there's always something to do. The visuals are a bit more complicated. We have great explosions, detailed vehicles, solid weapons models, and some genuinely cool effects. The environment never feels empty. Sure, the map is set in the desert, but this doesn't affect the number of buildings. I'd even say there are too many of them. So the visuals get a 9 out of 10. Overall, this is one of the few Tycoons that actually feels like a game first and a Tycoon second. And the next game on our list is... Oh, that was the last one. Well, that means this video is coming to an end. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. You've been with me, Kesokeri. See you next time.